Hello everyone, welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host Paula Taylor and this is episode 111. So this is my last live episode before I go on my 6 to 8 week medical hiatus. Notice I said last live episode. I'm going to make a little announcement about that. Just a couple quick announcements. So you noticed I said tonight is the last live show. So I have pre-recorded a show that's going to air next week and it is awesome. So I'm going to talk about and then walk you through actually doing an energetic healing session either for yourself or another person. And the timing is just right so that when I recorded this, as I guide you into this healing session, I sent healing energy to myself in the future for my surgery. And then as it airs next week, I will also be sending energy again to myself in the present. And we talk a little bit about that kind of quantum idea in the show. But the amazing thing about this, so I'm going to guide you through sending energy to yourself at any given point in time or to someone you love, someone you care about. And the more people that show up to watch that video right at 7 next week, the more that will amplify this healing process. So I highly encourage you, it's not going to be a live, so you have to go to Paula Taylor Energy to the page next week at 7, look for the video post. The podcast, my mind just went totally blank. The podcast is also going to post right at 7. So you'll actually be able to listen to the podcast in real time just as everyone's watching the video. So my vision for that is to have a bunch of people show up and amplify the energy. So anyone you're sending energy to gets amplified by everyone else who's sending energy. It should be a really beautiful experience. And I was kind of inspired to do that. And I'm excited to feel the effects of that, even though I won't be there with you live. And the only other thing I want to say just quickly before we start is something that I said last week, but I think it bears repeating. So I'm going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. And I encourage you to go back in that time and watch or listen to some of the older episodes. You can find the podcast, search Wind Down Wednesdays anywhere you get your podcasts. And just look through the titles and kind of see what calls to you and then listen to that episode, do the meditation. I do this all the time. This work is cyclical. So what happens is that I go back and I might do like episode 35 and it says something that calls to me. And then I listen to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 years ago, Paula, you're really speaking to me now. So I encourage you to continue this practice. There are next week, 112 episodes of the show that you can go back and continue your weekly practice, even though I'm not going to be live. And again, as you do that, you send energy out to the collective. And it's a beautiful way to serve not just yourself, but your fellow human beings. So I'm going to say this. I did this last time. I kind of sprung this on people and nobody interacted with me live, and that's completely fine. We're also going to pull some cards. But if you have a question for me, spiritual question about trauma healing, question about anything I've talked about on the show, question about something you want me to talk about on the show, maybe in the future, drop it in the comments. If you have a comment you want to leave, just leave it there and I will actually read these out loud. I'll interact with you and answer any questions. And I know that that's kind of putting people on the spot. This is my last live show for a while. And so I felt like really being live. I felt like really interacting and kind of seeing what people had to say, if anything. So if you have a question, I'm going to say that a few times just because people are kind of popping on and off. Leave it in the comments and I will address it. And while I'm waiting on that, we're going to pull some cards. So I am going to essentially miss the fall season this year for the show. Hopefully I'll still be here. I just won't be doing the show. And it's my favorite season. Since I was about a teenager, I think before that I liked summer, but there's something really magical about fall. It's a natural period of transition. The earth is starting to transition. I grew up in Illinois and, the leaves start to change. The weather starts to get a little bit crisper, but it's not cold enough to make you want to move away from Illinois like I eventually did. It's still enjoyable. It's a cozy season. It's a season of beginning to kind of turn inward and slow down a little bit and re-examine what's going on in your life. And there's something just really cozy and kind of comforting about that, even though it can be challenging to kind of confront transition. I know a lot of people in transition right now. So For the tarot reading, I decided to just pull some cards for this fall season, just see where we go. For the meditation tonight, I think we're just going to do a nice relaxing meditation with kind of a mini sound bath. We're just keeping it simple. We're keeping it kind of fun and light. So tonight I am using the Kyle Gray Gateway of Light Activation Oracle cards. I have used these a few times before on the show. They've really been speaking to me for the last couple of weeks, months. I got some new cards at the same time, and it's interesting. I like having multiple decks because different decks kind of speak to you at different points in time. So I've already shuffled these. I've already placed my intention. I'm just gonna kind of mix them up a little bit. So our first card is Crystal Skull Wisdom. And at the bottom it says Clarity, Divine Healing, and High Vibrational Energy. I'll show it to the camera and then describe it. So in the background, it's kind of like a all purple card, just different shades of purple, which I love purple. It's my favorite color. So whenever I see a purple card, it makes me smile. And then there's a crystal skull in the middle of it. And then around it, there looks like kind of like a mandala that you can't see in detail. There's some rays of light coming around, but the focus of this card is definitely this crystal skull. And it says Crystal Skull Wisdom. It says Clarity, Divine Healing, and High Vibrational Energy. So what is coming up for me already here? I mentioned a lot of people are in transition right now. And I feel like what people are being called into is this clarity. What is important in your life? What is serving you? What is not serving you? What are you ready to release? What trauma frequencies are you ready to release? And as you do that, this divine healing process, then we call in what this card calls high vibrational energy. If you've watched the show much, you know I don't like the term high vibrational. I'm going to say clear vibrational, expanded vibrational energy. So this is a season for getting clear. What is serving you? What is not serving you? What would you like to release? What would you like to call in? And when you do the work of that, when you get into that divine healing, then that high vibrational energy or expanded vibrational energy, clear vibrational energy, that is what you're calling in. So when we do this process with intention, then we call in some more expansion to fill that space. As we let things go, we kind of call new things in. So I made a little poll. If you want to vote in the poll, you have 5 minutes to vote. So let's see what else is coming out for the fall season for us for this transitionary period. Ooh, interesting. So this card says Halls of Learning. Underneath it, it says Spirit Guides, Confirmation, and Great Lessons. And it's interesting, we've pulled two cards now that are kind of monochromatic. Like the first one was pretty much all shades of purple. This one is pretty much all shades of gold. And it shows kind of like a classical Greek looking hall with like an atrium. And then you can see lines of books, and then it's kind of just completely filled with this gold light. So something really interesting. I have been in the Halls of Learning, astrally or spiritually. I have seen this exact room. And when I went there in my vision, I saw Albert Einstein in there, and he was like looking at a book, and he looked over at me and was like, hey, and then he went back to his book. So kind of a cool little side note there. So our first card was talking about clarity and how clarity leads to healing and calling in more expanded energy. So how do we get there? That's kind of what this card is saying to me. So we get there through communication, through learning. So communication with spirit guides, that's one great way to learn, to tap into your intuition, to get confirmation, looking for signs in the universe. This is our 111th show. Everybody loves repeating numbers. My guides love repeating numbers. They send me numbers. They send me songs. The other day I was trying to decide which exit to take when I was coming home, and I was listening to a random Spotify playlist. And I swear to God, in the middle of the song, the guy kept saying Grant Road, Grant Road, Grant Road over and over again. And that was the exit. I was like, should I take Grant Road or Miracle Mile? And so I took Grant Road. So that's the kind of confirmation that you can find when you're paying attention. And then, of course, the last part of this is great lessons. So how do we get to clarity and divine healing? How do we get to that more expanded energy? And it's through learning. And not necessarily classical learning, not brain mental learning. This is intuitive learning. This is expanding out and asking for help. I have been asking my guides for help with all sorts of little things I would never ask for help with over the last couple of weeks. And every time I do it, it's almost like instantaneous. I need help with this insurance issue. Same day, the letter comes saying your insurance auth has been approved. I need help with this other form. Like same day, the form shows up. I call somebody and they answer and they help me with it. So asking for help, getting that confirmation, noticing the signs that are around you, that's one of the ways we get to that clarity, to that kind of divine healing. There's a poll up here that I've never done this before, so I have no idea like if it's just going to pop up when it's done, but it was what's your favorite part of the show, the topic discussion or the meditation. It didn't give me the option to say all of the above, so you got to choose one. All right, so let's pull another card here. Ooh, interesting. So we're getting some like learning cards. So this is the Akashic Records, which is similar to the Halls of Learning. It's a little more specific. Clearing old stories, releasing past lives, and freedom. And this card is also, it's kind of got some gold and some red. These cards are so beautiful. They're a little hard to describe. There's a building in the background that looks kind of like a classical Capitol building. And then there's a building that looks kind of like a pagoda, and they're all in gold. In the background, you can see what looks like maybe Shambhala or Shangri-La. And then there's a book with kind of ancient looking writing in the front, and it's gold, and there's a little bit of red and kind of orange at the outside. So we started out, we're looking for clarity, divine healing, and expanded energy. How do we get there? Through the Halls of Learning, we went over that, and this is Akashic Records. So Akashic Records is about soul contracts. It's about clearing things from past lives. It's about clearing ancestral lineage. This is really speaking to me, right? Oh, here's the poll results. One person voted and they said they liked the topic discussion. Thank you. So what this is bringing up for me, this Akashic Records card, is this surgery that I'm about to have is I've gotten a lot of messages that this is clearing an old soul contract. This is healing generational issues in my, not just my ancestral lineage, but in my energetic lineage, in the healing lineage that I come from. We as healers take on a lot of yucky vibration, muddy vibration, and a lot of times it gets held in the body, and we're not necessarily taught how to release it. And especially as women, the depository for that, I mean for everyone, is the womb space. Everyone has a womb space, whether you have a physical womb. In Chinese medicine, it's called the Dantian. So when you are picking things up from people, whether you're consciously healing people in that way or you're doing it unconsciously like a lot of us are, that energy gets stored somewhere. It gets stored in the physical body. So having issues in the womb space or anywhere in the physical body can oftentimes be in part a result of these kind of old soul contracts, these old lineage issues, ancestral lineage, energetic lineage. So these second two cards are telling us how we get to this clarity. We get to this clarity and expanded energy by expanding into that learning through intuition and by letting go of some old soul contracts. So let's pull another card. I don't know if we're going to pull one more or maybe two more. I feel like I'm on a roll. One of the things I really like about these cards too is that they all, there's like no cards there, but most of them have a pretty positive feel to them, I will say. Ooh, I've never seen this one. Man, we are like in the halls tonight. This one says Halls of a Mentee Initiation. I have no idea what that is. I'll have to read the book on it later, but it says Secrets Revealed, Treasures Uncovered, and Initiations. And this one looks, again, there's kind of like a classical Greek column. Ooh, someone said pull two more cards. All right, so this will be one and then we'll pull two. That's funny because that's what just came to me. There's like a window here, and there's some classical looking geometry. There's like a triangle that's bringing me back to geometry class. And then like in the kind of background is just what looks like space, like the blackness of space with some stars. There's what looks like a marble floor. And again, this says Secrets Revealed, Treasures Uncovered, and Initiations. So this is a reading. I mean, this is like a really clear reading. If you want clarity, if you want healing, if you want to expand your vibes, it's time to do some work. It's time to do the work of learning how to connect with your intuition. It's time to do the work of clearing old soul contracts. And as that happens, old secrets are revealed. As that happens, we start to uncover new treasures. A lot of times that's new gifts, what we might call psychic gifts or intuitive gifts. As you really do this work and start releasing, then it makes space for those gifts to show up. And this, it says initiations here, and that makes me think of dimensional frequency expansion, because that's very much been a process of initiation for me, of going through these kind of ceremonial, what do I call them? Expansion ceremonies. My mind just went blank because I wanted to say initiations. They're basically initiations to call these frequencies in. And the more of these frequencies I call in, the more I have to let go to make more room for the new frequencies. And the more of these new beautiful frequencies I call in, the more expanded I get, the more enjoy I get. I am having major surgery next week, and I absolutely have feelings about that. But right now, I feel really joyful. I don't feel panicked. I don't feel scared. And that's because I've done so much of this work that I trust my guides. I trust the information. I trust the universe. I trust that my path will unfold as it's meant to. And that's a big part of this process, is opening to that intuitive information, receiving the gifts that are offered to you. Sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy of that. And so even when these gifts are being offered to us, our guides are trying to help us all the time, but we have to ask for help. And then we have to be open to receive the help. And that's a little bit of a process, especially if you have a history of trauma. That sense, that lack of worthiness, that lack of feeling of self-worth really gets in the way of being able to receive, whether that's receiving love, whether that's receiving physical gifts or help, or whether it's receiving this intuitive information that we're talking about. All right, so this is our last card. Let's see what our last card says. Ooh, okay, this is the last card. Interesting. Oh, okay. So this card says Soul Star Activation. Underneath it, it says Fulfilling Soul Contracts, where we heard that, and Remembering Who You Are. And if you look at this card's really multicolorful. There's oranges, there's reds, there's yellows, there's some purples and blues. And it shows, I think this is supposed to be an Egyptian, I don't remember the name. It's an Egyptian god, because I've read the book on this card a couple times. It comes up for me a lot. And then there's a Merkaba at the top, which is like a sacred geometry that you can read about if you want to know more about that. And then there's this sort of vortex of space. And so this is our goal here. This is where we're traveling to. So we started out, we're like, man, I need some clarity. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I want to do some healing. I want to expand my vibes, whatever that means for you. And like, how do I get there? I get there through learning how to connect with my intuition, clearing old soul contracts, and releasing past lives, and allowing myself to receive the initiation of these new gifts that are coming in for me. And as we do that, what happens? We have this soul star activation. So what is the soul star? So the soul star is not one of the 7 main chakras, but it's a chakra that's said to exist kind of a ways above the head. You can't see my hand, but because it's out of the screen here, but the crown chakra is kind of right at the crown of the head. The soul star exists sort of out in the spiritual realms more. And it's said to be your true connection with your divine nature. It's who you are. So remembering who you are, it actually says on this card, remembering who you are. Oh, and somebody asked me a question. So how do you allow that? How do you allow yourself to receive gifts, I'm guessing is the question, or how do you allow yourself to be open? That's a really good question, because it's not an easy answer. It's a process for sure. And I would say practice. Sometimes it's like somebody paid you a compliment and you received it. Thank you. You didn't deflect it. You didn't say, oh, well, I don't know. You actually received it. Somebody offered you a gift. Somebody has offered me Reiki sessions to prepare for my surgery. And I've said, yes, thank you. I will take that. And I will not feel bad about it, because there's that little voice like, oh, well, you should, because I say, can I pay you? No, I don't want, I want to just give this to you as a gift. And so then I said, thank you. I will accept that gift. And it is, that trauma frequency wants you to say no. That trauma frequency wants you to stay isolated. It doesn't want you to connect, because that's what we're really talking about here. If you're receiving a gift, whether it's from an intuitive source or another actual person who's still a spiritual being, everybody's a spiritual being, whether they're physically here or not, we're talking about connection. And when you've gone through trauma, that connection is too dangerous and you don't allow it. You isolate yourself because you've been hurt, whether that's physically, sexually, emotionally, all of the above. So it's about little acts of courage and little acts of vulnerability, asking for help and then receiving it, taking help when it's offered, starting to connect with your guides, asking your guides for help. I need help with this insurance authorization. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then just letting that space be there. And also understanding that sometimes, I'm saying like, I asked for help and it came right away. Like, that's the confirmation that's really exciting. But that's not always the case, right? Sometimes there's something going on that's beyond our understanding. So we ask for something and we don't receive, and that can be triggering trauma-wise. But being open, being trusting, and just working at it a little bit at a time, so that it's sort of like opening, this little box that's been closed for so long, and it's like, oh, and then the box closes. Oh, and then the box closes. But eventually, the hinges are going to start to unrust or whatever. My metaphor is all over the place. And your box is going to stay open. And your box is meant to receive. Your box, we give and give and give and give. And we don't actually talk about how important it is to receive. And because we think it's selfish, right? Somebody told you down the somewhere back, oh, don't be selfish. You should give. Don't be selfish. Don't take. But there is a true exchange going on energetically all the time. So if you can't receive, then you're not really giving. You might think you're giving. If you're giving from emptiness, you're actually giving muddy vibration. You're not giving clear vibration. So like allowing that exchange to happen. And again, it's a process. There's no easy answer for that. But thank you for asking a question. I'm very excited. So let's kind of recap the reading. I don't want to go on too long because we're going to do a nice relaxing meditation. So just to recap, what's happening this fall season? That's what this reading was. We're looking for clarity. We're asking for divine healing, which for a lot of us is releasing trauma frequency. And then we're calling in that clear, expanded vibrational energy. And how do we get there? We get there by learning how to get in touch with our intuition, through spirit guides, through signs, through looking for confirmation, through learning those lessons. We get there through clearing old stories, old soul contracts, past life issues. By doing that work, a lot of times that work requires help. You need an energy worker. You need a coach. You need someone who's experienced with that stuff for that. And then stepping into the initiation, allowing yourself to receive. As you've done the work, you've cleared the space, then new beautiful energy wants to come in. But you got to see that you're worthy to receive that. You've got to work on opening to receive that beautiful initiation, those secrets and those treasures that are being uncovered. And then the result of all of this is this activation of your spiritual chakra, of your spiritual connection to your true divine nature, whatever word you want to use for that, your soul. Fulfilling the purpose of your soul is the reason that we're here. That full stop. Fulfilling the purpose of your soul is the reason that we're here. And the beautiful thing about that is that your soul is so patient. Your soul has been with you through all these lifetimes, and you could fulfill the soul contract in a lot of different ways, but the easiest way to do that is to say, I serve my soul for the highest good, and then see what happens. Figure out what your gifts are. That a lot of times requires help too. I just said the other day in my sound bath, people are always telling you to find your niche. Like what is your focus as somebody who works with people? And I think my focus is helping people release trauma so that they can see that inner light, so that they can connect with their soul and figure out what their soul purpose is, because that is what we're here for. But you can't find your soul purpose if you don't think you're worthy to be that beautiful divine being. If that trauma frequency is keeping you restricted, you've got to shed at least some of that to develop this connection. And then when you activate this remembrance of who you really are, you knew it was going to get me at some point, that there's just so much bliss to be had. There's so much fulfillment. You know that you're doing what you're here to do when you feel full. Your heart feels full. It's like you ate a really, comforting meal. This Sunday, I did a class in the morning on Zoom, and then I did another DFE share kind of circle in the afternoon. And it was a day that filled my soul. It was a day where I knew this is what I'm here to do. And you can see it brings me to tears because it's so joyful, because it's so blissful, because there was a time in my life where I never thought I would have that, where all I could see was darkness, where all I could feel was alone. I had that isolation of trauma. And through doing this kind of work that we just talked about in this reading for like almost 30 years now, I shed that trauma. I shed that trauma. I shed that trauma. And I know I'm worthy to receive what comes in. And what comes in is that beautiful connection. And when you have that spiritual connection, then you start to see it in other people and you connect with their soul. You connect with their spiritual aspect. And again, it amplifies everything. When we sat on Sunday in both of those groups and we called in energy, that energy affects everyone on earth, whether they're aware of it or not. It absolutely affected those of us in the circle. It absolutely affected the people just outside of the circle, the people in their families and social circles, and maybe even where you work, where you go to school. And that it's like dropping a stone in a pond, and it ripples and it ripples and it ripples and it ripples. And I truly believe if enough of us do that, then the world will change. Everybody wants a better world. I bet you could ask 10 people and they'd all tell you, yeah, I want a better world. This is how we get there. I truly believe that. This is how we get there. Whew. Yikes. That was really fun. Thank you so much for going on that journey with me. I feel like I really needed that. So what we're going to do is just come present. Just come into the body. Do some breaths, call ourselves out of that fight, flight, or freeze into that ease response. We're going to do a little mini sound bath. I did this weekend and everybody just said it felt so warm and loving. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to take a bath in warm, loving energy. And that's a beautiful way to start opening that feeling that you are worthy to receive. You are worthy to receive. And as these frequencies come into your vibrational field, it encourages you again to release those muddy frequencies, those trauma frequencies, those frequencies that don't serve you, and to invite these frequencies of love in, to recognize that you deserve to be loved and that you are loved. You are a source of divine love, and of course you are loved because you are made of love. So let's meditate together. So find a comfortable position, sitting up, lying down, whatever feels good to you. Try to have some part of your body contacting the earth. It's really a lot easier to get grounded if something is touching the ground. And you might ask, what if I'm on the second floor or higher of a building? Still touching the ground sends that energy down toward the earth. You don't have to be directly touching the earth, although that's really nice. But have your feet on the ground if you're sitting up, or sit on the ground, lie on the ground, let your whole back body touch the ground if you can, if that's accessible. And if not, just have the intention that you're connected to the ground. So start bringing your awareness to that area of your body that's touching the ground or closest to the ground. And then let's do our 3 deep oxytocin breaths, breathing in through the mouth, sighing that out with that audible ha sound. Let that belly float out. Really breathe deep down into the lungs as far as you can. Ha. that 2 more times. Really feel that part of your body touching the ground. Imagine that you're sitting or lying on the earth itself, whether you're on some sand at a beach, that's always my go-to, or maybe you're in a beautiful garden, you're lying in a meadow of grass in the mountains. Just feel some part of your body on the earth. Maybe you're in your energetic sanctuary outside and you're touching the ground. You're feeling already now really safe, really relaxed. Take a few more of those deep oxytocin breaths if you feel like you need them, if you still feel like you're a little bit frantic, if you feel like your thoughts are racing. Those oxytocin breaths will help slow your mind down. They'll help bring that body out of fight, flight, or freeze into ease. We're going to stay fully in the body tonight. We're going to stay really connected to the ground. That just feels really soothing. It's very appropriate for this fall transition season to be close to the earth. The earth is transitioning. We're transitioning. We're coming out of that really active summer season. We're starting to get ready for the hibernation period of winter, where we turn inward. And so it's appropriate to begin to slow down a bit, to turn inward. To get connected with the ground, with the earth. And let's just do a few gentle movements just to further encourage coming into that fight, flight, or freeze. And I just broke my own rule about not moving too much. So let's shrug our shoulders a little bit, but rather than shrugging them as high as you can, just bring them up about 10-20% of your capacity. And what I like to do with this is bring them up and then just let it go, just drop it. We do that in yoga a lot. So just again, about 20% of your capacity, and you'll notice if you're watching the video, every time I do that, it frees up a little energy in my neck and I end up kind of moving my neck around. And now let's just make really tiny shoulder circles. If this is uncomfortable for you, if this is not working for your mobility, then just relax. You can go back to shrugging the shoulders. You can just sit for a moment. Just make a few, and again, we're going like 10% of our capacity here. Making a few circles forward and back. Come into the neck, and again, like 10% of your motion, just tip back and forth a little bit. You might find yourself releasing a little energy there, as I just did. A little bit of a deep breath, a little bit of kind of tightness in my chest released. So just continue to move the neck, 10% of your capacity. And then start to circle the torso again, like 10% of your capacity. If you're sitting up, if this isn't accessible to you, or if you're lying down, maybe just gently circle the wrists and the ankles again, 10% of your capacity. Just a few times each direction, just inviting the body to feel safe, inviting the body to release some of that tension we've been carrying around just by being in the physical body, by being alive, by being in the world. And then do take one more of those nice deep oxytocin breaths, releasing trauma frequency even in that short little physical exercise. So for this next part of the meditation, your job is really simple, but maybe not easy. I'm going to ask you to just receive. I'm going to do some sound. Just let the sound wash over you. If your intuition guides you to do any kind of movement or breathing, that's absolutely fine, but there's nothing you need to do right now. For perhaps the first time all day, let go of what you had to do earlier. Let go of what you have to do after this. Just give me a few minutes here. Open your heart space. Just picture light shining out from your heart, like there's a big sun in the center of your chest. shine that sun out. And as you do that, that space opens up, or you can picture a flower opening up. I like the sun better myself, but whatever feels good to you here, open your heart. These frequencies come into your vibrational space for the highest good. These are unconditionally loving frequencies that are meant to help you feel how much you deserve to receive. To feel that connection to your soul, to your divine light. Say ho. Say yeah, 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 ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. Hey, hi, hi, ho, hi, how. Ai au, ai au, au, au. Sai hey ho, ai hey ho. Sai hey ho, ai hey ho. You are so loved. You are so worthy of that love. You are so worthy to receive beauty and light, to receive intuitive knowledge and gifts, to break those old cycles that have been holding you back. Receive. Allow yourself to receive. Say hey oh yeah. Say hey oh yeah. Say hi oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah. Showa seda. Ise sheto wa na te showa. Te showa, te showa. Stay still here for just a few moments. Let your energetic field have a chance, have a moment to integrate these frequencies of love, these frequencies of light, these frequencies of worthiness. Just uncovering that divine light that is your nature. You are meant to be loved. You are meant to receive. You are meant to feel joy and bliss and hope, even when things are difficult. It's possible. Very slowly start to move your body again. Whatever you choose to move, 10% of your capacity, of your range of motion. 20% at most. Be really gentle here. Your body deserves that. We're doing powerful, energetic work here. So let your body be safe as you integrate this shift. Just moving it to come back to the present, to come back to your conscious mind. Just as you're called to here, maybe you shrug your shoulders, maybe you rotate your neck. Again, 10% of your capacity here. Remembering who you are is a process of uncovering the light that always exists, that's always existed within you. Some of these things that we've encountered in past lives and this life, the trauma, the fear, the pain, it starts to cover that light and we can't find it, we can't see it. And that is why we do this work. That is why we call in intuitive guidance. That is why we do the hard emotional and energetic work of releasing these frequencies. That is why we learn to allow ourselves to accept the gifts that are given as we release old vibrations that no longer serve us. We call in beautiful vibrations. We expand. We see that light. We know that light. That light is our soul. That light is the source of all that is. And it is just for us. As you're ready, take a few deep breaths with or without that audible ha. I'll leave that up to you. Do breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, though. Breathing out through the mouth just continues that journey into relaxation. And then affirm with me out loud if possible. I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body and I am worthy to receive. I am fully present in my body and I recognize my true nature, my divine light. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for my last live show before my 6-week medical leave. Please watch the show next week. Even if it's just as a personal favor to me, I really want to build that beautiful collective healing energy that we'll be sending out. You can send it to yourself. You can send it to someone you love. You can send it to whoever you want. But as you do that, that amplifies all the other energy that everyone else is sending out with you. And what a beautiful way to intentionally bring more light and love into this world. And that's why we do this work. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. Have an amazing fall season, and I will see you live in 6 to 8 weeks for our next Wind Down Wednesday, but I will see you pre-recorded next week for a very special episode of Wind Down Wednesday.